Take a deep breath, Dog Pound, because today Berea shook in a way nobody saw coming. A wild Pro Bowl trade rumor lit up the halls, while a financial decision might blow up the relationship with our most expensive quarterback. And as if that wasn't enough, a forgotten rookie is charging straight toward the top of the backfield depth chart, flipping the entire script. All of this before the first snap of training camp. So, does the front office have a genius plan, or are we about to relive our old ghosts? You won't believe what we've got today. So sit down, smash that like button, and let's go. If you've been following the Browns' quiet offseason, you've probably sensed something strange bubbling behind the scenes. And now, the name that's popped up has even the most optimistic fans scratching their heads. According to an analysis by Christopher Knox from Bleacher Report, the Cleveland Browns are reportedly considering a trade with the Atlanta Falcons for tight end Kyle Pitts. Yes, that Kyle Pitts, the same one who took the league by storm as a rookie in 2021, made the Pro Bowl, but since then has collected more injuries and disappointment than production. The fan reaction? A mix of shock, frustration, and sheer disbelief. I mean, does it really make sense to chase another expensive, inconsistent tight end when we just drafted Harold Fannin Jr. and still have David Njoku on the roster? Even worse, Njoku is in the final year of his contract, which opens the door for an even more unsettling theory. Is the real plan to move on from Njoku and bet everything on a declining Pitts? This is where the whole idea starts to feel dangerous, because if this move is even being considered, it reveals a mindset from the front office that goes beyond filling needs. It feels like the Browns are chasing raw potential, even if it means sacrificing logic and stability. That's exactly what the Jerry Jeudy trade was. Undeniable talent, underwhelming results. And now they're ready to roll the dice again, this time on a tight end. From a Caps perspective, the only reason this rumor makes any sense is the salary space freed up after the June 1st cuts. Finally, the front office has some breathing room financially, and maybe they're trying to make a splash. But is it really smart to use that space on a player who's more of a question mark than a solution? And here's the catch. Pitts is also in the last year of his rookie deal. So even if he performs well, a big if, the Browns will have to break the bank in 2026 to keep him. We're talking about a franchise that has repeatedly struggled after overpaying for players who didn't deliver. A trade like this, if it actually happens, would be the kind of move that splits both the locker room and the fan base. Some will see it as a high upside swing. Others will see it as yet another head-scratching decision keeping this team from ever finding consistent footing.
And while we're still trying to make sense of that potential move, another name, even more polarizing, is back in today's spotlight. And once again, he might be the biggest deadweight in our season plans. He's still here. He's still the most expensive name on the roster. And against all odds, physical, financial, and even logical, Deshaun Watson doesn't seem to understand that his time in Cleveland is over, at least not in the eyes of the front office. Recent reports say the quarterback is determined to return in 2025. He's training. He's saying he's going to prove everyone wrong. But there's one small detail. The Browns don't want him to play. And it's not out of spite. It's strategy. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk laying out the raw truth with the kind of cold logic only a seasoned reporter can deliver. If Watson doesn't play this year due to medical reasons, specifically his double Achilles tear, the Browns activate a $1 billion insurance policy. That policy gives him money back and clears up cap space. That, finally, would be the break this team needs to truly move on. So the harsh truth is, the less Watson plays, the better it is for the team's future. Now imagine what kind of situation does inside a locker room. The most expensive quarterback in franchise history, still under contract, training like he's going to start, while the team's real plan is for him to stay off the field, to stay invisible, to be a financial ghost and nothing more. And it gets weirder because team owner Jimmy Haslam has already publicly admitted that the Watson trade was a mistake. He didn't say it in those exact words, but the message was loud and clear. If they could go back, they'd do it differently. But Watson hasn't given up, and that's becoming a silent threat inside Berea. So think about the mental weight of that tension. You've got a locker room trying to find a new identity. New leaders are stepping up. Younger players are preparing to take over. And in the corner of the room, you've got the veteran with the heaviest contract in the NFL grinding in silence, trying to earn back his place. But without support from the coaching staff, without support from the front office, and honestly, without much support from the fan base either.
If Watson gets medically cleared and insists on returning, the Browns are stuck. Because benching a healthy player who wants to play causes noise inside and outside the building. But letting him play, knowing it ruins the cap and resets 2026 planning, that might be even worse. The team is obviously preparing for a new chapter. Drafting Shedeur Sanders was the first sign. Building the offense around young, mobile quarterbacks was another. And behind the scenes, the focus is entirely on the new faces, not Watson. But what nobody's saying out loud, and maybe they can't, is that this saga might not end quietly. If Watson feels like he's being shut out, don't be surprised if he pushes to play, calls out the front office, or even asks for a trade. The problem? No other team wants that contract. None. The Browns walked themselves into a corner, and now the best-case scenario is that the player can't play, which is exactly the opposite of what any team should wish for its starting quarterback. So, Dog Pound, can you trust a rebuild that depends on one of your biggest investments failing physically? But hold that question for just a second. Because while the veteran drama plays out in silence, a rookie nobody saw coming is quietly making waves in training camp. And he might be the secret weapon that flips this entire season on its head. While the media focuses on quarterbacks, contracts, and controversy, something's quietly building on the far side of the practice field. Like the faint beat of a drum only the tuned-in can hear. The name? Quinshon Judkins. The label, 36th pick in the draft, a ready-to-contribute running back according to analysts. But anyone watching him at minicamp sees more than that. He doesn't just look ready, he looks hungry. And that hunger is starting to shake up the entire backfield.
The setup feels like something out of a movie. On one side, you've got Shedeur Sanders, the legacy name, the media darling, full of buzz and headlines. On the other, there's Judkins, a 21-year-old who avoids the spotlight and quietly explodes through cone drills with rocket-like burst and veteran-level vision. Nobody needs to ask if he wants the starting role. Just watch how he attacks every rep like it's personal. This Monday alone, he broke 3 tackles in a row on an inside zone play and had coaches and teammates gasping on the sideline. The timing couldn't be better for a shakeup. Nick Chubb is gone. Jerome Ford is still searching for consistency. And the new offensive philosophy, pounding the rock to set up play action, desperately needs a hammer. Judkins fits that mold perfectly. Low center of gravity, 215 pounds of pure muscle, post-contact balance that brings back flashes of Kareem Hunt in 2017. Across 42 college games, 3,785 rushing yards, 45 touchdowns, 5.1 yards per carry, plus real skills as a check-down receiver. The Dawg Pound is already catching the scent. Fan forums are lighting up with mock lineups featuring Sanders running RPOs while Judkins bulldozes stacked boxes. Some say Kevin Stefanski is quietly drawing up a more college-style offense to let both rookies grow together. Something similar to what saved our 2020 season when Chubb and Hunt were wrecking defenses. Does it sound risky?
Maybe. But risk has always lived in the brightest pages of Cleveland's history. Of course, every opportunity brings its challenges. For Judkins, the key will be channeling his explosive drive into patient reads at the line of scrimmage. For the Browns, the question is whether they can embrace youth without overwhelming two rookies at once. Still, every time Judkins cuts on the turf, the message is clear: I got this. If you thought Chubb's absence left an unfillable hole, you might want to think again. We could be just weeks away from watching a backfield revolution sparked by a kid barely mentioned on draft day. Because football, like life, often rewards the basics: vision, power, and the hunger to prove a city deserves greatness. And I'd bet the next thunderous noise out of Berea will come from Judkins' cleats. 3 stories, 3 bombs, and none of them can be ignored if you seriously believe in the Browns' chances for 2025. A trade rumor that defies logic. A silent Cold War with the most expensive quarterback in franchise history. And a rookie who might change the game before even putting on the jersey for real. This is the reality taking shape in Berea. Unpredictable, tense, and packed with raw potential. So now I ask you, what would you do if you were in the front office? Would you bet on upside? Cut ties with the past? Listen to the voice of the fans? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet, because this season's gonna be wild, and we're living every second of it together.